What I would like to do next is to go into the detailed description of the process of how do we get consensus at the top and how do we spread it then into the company so we get a smooth, holistic approach implementation. Without resistance, without people fighting it, but the exact opposite. Of course, it is heavily based on the Socratic approach. But what I will have to do first is to explain to you what are the real obstacles preventing a consensus. And contrary to the common belief, the real obstacles are not bad things in people, but amazingly, it's the good things in people. These good virtues are the one that blocks the consensus. And that's why it took me so long to find exactly each one of them, because I was barking on the wrong trees, looking for interests which are conflicting with the goal of the company in top management and politics and nastiness and so on. And I wasted so much time just to prove to myself that even though everybody believes in it, it still does not exist. That's are not the obstacles. And it took even more time to find out, not that there are obstacles, of course there are obstacles, because otherwise it would have been so easy to reach such a consensus, and we know how rare is such a consensus. But it turns out that all the obstacles standing in the way of reaching a consensus are the good virtues in people. And then it took even longer to find how to rectify it, how to overcome these obstacles. And then, how do you build a process which is systematic, repeatable, even though we are dealing with vastly different companies, and a process which is so solid that the rate of success is well over 90%. Just to remind you, statistics shows that all other management approaches, the rate of success is less than 10%. So 90% is almost out of the rule. If we look on history, I don't know that we can show many cases where there was true consensus among the group of people managing a company, real true consensus. So at first sight, it looks like this mission is impossible. Hopefully I will convince you that it is possible, because otherwise the alternatives are to start to do pilots, to start to do it through one function and then to go to another function. These things do work, but the chance of running into brick walls is very high, extremely high. So please bear with me when I will discuss what are the real barriers that prevent consensus. I think that there are 4 major barriers, and all of them are coming from the good things in people, not the bad things in people. One of the barriers which is happening in very good companies is the dominant, impatient visionary. Do you know such a person? If not, look at me again. Not every company has this person. But the companies that do have it, those are the companies that are really moving forward. As a matter of fact, I don't know about any startup company which does not have this dominant, impatient visionary. At the same time, we know that even though this person is the engine of the company, and usually is very high, if not the owner of the company, we know one of the unpleasant characteristics of this person, and this is why we call it impatient. He's coming with an idea, with a direction or whatever. He starts to explain, he explains it. You start to say, yes, but, and after about 2 minutes, he's starting to chew you up. Not exactly pleasantly. This person have a span of attention of about 2 minutes to listen to you, and then he start to attack, especially if you don't agree with him. This person, even though he is so important for the progress of the company, at the same time, this person is poison for consensus. Real poison. He doesn't let anybody reach his own conclusions, debating it and so on. He's cutting through and he's starting to pull his weight. And many times it's not just his weight, it's charisma. And by that he kills any real chance to get a consensus. What do you do with it? To get rid of him? God forbid. How can you deal with this dominant impatient visionary in such a way that he helps to get the consensus rather than kill it or not allowing it, even the process to start? Well, first of all, let's understand something. Do you agree with me that this person is smart? Of course, he's very smart. Do you think that this person is not aware of the fact that his biggest stumbling block in moving his own company is the fact that he's impatient? Do you really believe that he doesn't know it? He knows it very well. Nevertheless, it looks like he cannot control himself. How come? Well, what is happening is that this impatience is probably embedded and non-separate part of the fact that this person has the stamina to shoot for a very high vision. They're coming together. In what way? You see, at the bottom of any subject, as we said over and over again in this program, at the bottom of any subject there is a core problem. And the core problem means a conflict. This person, in order to have the stamina to really follow his vision, have unconsciously conditioned himself to look just on one side of the core conflict. He is blind to the other side. Because if he will look on the other side, his stamina to push for his vision will go down. He will not have enough ability to do it. So unconsciously even, he has blinded himself from the other side of the conflict. The other side that tells you, don't do it. Whenever he is explaining and whenever you are trying to say your opinion, you will find out that he's very patient as long as you are talking about his side. The minute that you start to talk about the other side, that's where the impatience is triggered and this nice pussycat becomes a tiger. That's what always happens. Look on it and you see that that's the case. Always. What do you do about it? Well, what I found out is that there is a way to channel this phenomenal vision of the person and phenomenal ability into the directions that help consensus. And the way is the following. You are taking one subject after another, a very important subject, and you analyze it and you show the core conflict at the bottom. The real conflict at the bottom. And then you show both sides. And then you show that you are not going, due to the conflict, to lower the expectations or to lower the vision. You are not going to do any compromises. What you are going to do is to find the wrong assumption. And then once the wrong assumption is identified, the conflict is removed, and now you are shooting even higher than before. And then you show him one thing which is amazing. You see, this person has intuition, which is so developed that the side of the cloud, the side of the conflict that he ignores, that's the side that contains the wrong assumption. This is a level of his intuition. What you show him is, the idea is, let's look on the other side, not in order to lower the objective, but in order to find the wrong assumption which is there. As long as you will not look on the other side, you will not find this wrong assumption. And the minute that we identify the wrong assumption, look what's happening. Everybody is behind you. That's the way to get everybody behind you, and you solve your biggest problem. If you do it on 1, 2, 3, 4 important subjects, it turns out that it's enough for these bright people to understand the pattern. And the pattern is, let's look on the other side, not anymore, I'm not afraid anymore that by looking on the other side I will reduce the objective. I will lose my stamina. I'm looking on the other side only for one purpose, to find the wrong assumption. And then I can bring all these turtles with me. It's working beautifully. But you see, that's not the only obstacle that blocks a consensus. There is a much more common obstacle, which I don't know about almost any company that does not have at least one or two people at the top management which belong to that category, and this is the conservative. You know, this conservative, usually people with enormous amount of experience, very well respected, but somehow any suggestion of what to improve, they immediately find ways to prove to you that it should not be done. Is as if they're going out of their way to maintain the status quo. Do you know these people? Mm-hmm. What do you do with them? Because remember, what we are trying to do is not just to get a consensus, but a consensus on a mammoth change. As long as these people are in the crowd, and they're always in a management crowd, do you think that you have a chance of reaching a true consensus on something which is beyond the expectation of anyone in the group, or almost anyone in the group? Once again, what do you do here? And again, do you think that these conservative people are stupid? They're definitely not. Do you think that they don't know reality? They don't know the situation of the company? Of course they know. Very well, as a matter of fact. And now if you talk to them and you ask them, what do you think? Do you think that if the company will not embark on a process of ongoing improvement, will it survive in the future? What do you think their answer will be? They thoroughly believe that if we don't improve, we are going to be out of business. So how come that these people with so much experience, that are really convinced that we must improve, block any suggestion for improvement? What are they, imbeciles? How come that this is happening? And the answer is the following. Look, these conservative people have this gift of seeing both sides of the conflict very clearly. As a matter of fact, when you, through the analysis, cause them at last to see the core problem of their own company, they will tell you, we know it before. We've said it more than once, and they really believe in it, and it's really correct. They've seen both sides of the conflict. They are keenly aware of both sides of the conflict. But you see what's happening? Most suggestions for improvement that they've seen in their experience, the vast majority, are not solutions or improvements that remove the conflict. They are solutions or suggestions of movement on the conflict arrow. Do you want to see an example of movement on the conflict arrow? We've talked about it. Centralization, decentralization, centralization. Okay? Each time it was presented as the thing that will save the company. All this huge reorganization. Each one they were opposing it. Why? They've already learned from their experience that whenever a solution is presented which is moving on the conflict arrow, and remember they do see both sides, they know that the only thing that will happen is substituting one set of undesirable effect with another set of undesirable effect. And if that's what you want to do, better not to do anything. Thank you, we have done it before. We've been there. Why should we try it again? How do you cause them to move? You see, same way. Let's take the same subjects. Let's show on each important subject what is the core problem, what is a conflict. At this stage they will not be surprised, they know it already. But then what you do is you show them that you don't have any intention whatsoever to move on the conflict arrow. More than that, you are showing that any movement on the conflict arrow should be blocked because it will be just substituting one set of undesirable effect with another. Thank you very much. Instead, you are highlighting what is the wrong assumption, and now you don't say, I have a solution. You say, I have a direction of a solution. That's now the direction of the solution, based on the fact that now I know that this and this assumption is wrong. But now you start the next step. How do you create the full solution? According to theory of constraints, the way to create the full solution is called the future reality tree. And the weapon that you are using is Remember, you're talking about the future, things that are not existing now. These things that you are using is a